Hi, I'm here today with Anita Morin, one of our Global Learn Day presenters. Hi, Anita. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name is Anita, as she said, and I'm a physician assistant. And part of my passion is really helping patients to see the beauty of natural health and how to maximize their natural health. So that's what I do.
Okay. I know that one of the things you're most passionate about is women's health care, and I was wondering how that works into how you became interested in that.
Sure. So when I was in PA school, one of the things I learned among the many things about how the human body works and all the medications was about hormonal birth control. And I learned that it had three functions. It's ovulation,
Mhm.
it thickens cervical mucus, and it can stop the implantation of a child after conception. That last function happens less often than the others, but it does occur. And so for me personally, that sent me on really a journey of studying how these medications work in a woman's body. And from that, I learned so many things about the side effects of birth control, how they can affect a woman, and other alternative options that are out there. So.
So, what kind of alternative options could you tell us more about?
Sure. Personally, I learned about fertility awareness methods, and what I used to think natural family planning was the rhythm method. But believe it or not, that is just one form of natural family planning that has been discredited across the board as not effective for anything more than usually producing children. Um,
Is there a type of alternative that you know more about or could teach us about?
Sure. So I am really interested in things that are scientific based. I think that the best things that our society has produced have been backed by science,
Mhm.
and ultimately, there are a lot of speculations and theories that people have tried to determine over the years as to what can help couples be allowed to participate in intimacy without producing a child, or other times people were trying to have children and having difficulty.
Mhm.
And so what we have found as society has gone on is that things have just been kind of chaotic. On the avoidance side, believe it or not, Lysol at one time was marketed as something that was to prevent pregnancy as a birth control, but the actual hormonal birth control didn't get approved by the FDA until 1960.
Mhm.
And so we see that there's been a lot of changes with that. And over time, birth control, hormonal birth control, or IUDs or implants or barrier methods such as condoms. There's been a lot of different things that have come onto the market, but very few of them have helped to understand really a woman and a woman's cycle. The most advanced version of fertility awareness methods that I have learned about is the Creighton model. It comes from the Pope Paul VI Institute, which simply means that their institute has done the research, and much of it was started by Dr. Hilgers, who has done quite a bit of research. But what it has delved into is an understanding not just of how to track a woman's cycle based on biomarkers, but went ahead to allow for an understanding of a woman's cycle that previously really wasn't fully understood. And you can use that information then to achieve pregnancy if you are trying to get pregnant, or can use that information to know when to avoid intimacy that then would avoid pregnancy. And you're able to do that without any barrier method or hormonal input.
So, what are the major advantages to this as far as when you're looking at like what women would it help? How can this be used? What does it take to implement this scientific method?
Okay. So the Creighton model is based on a woman making observations daily. Every woman throughout her cycle is going to have different things that happen in the month, and most of them occur via discharge of cervical mucus or signs of different parts of the cycle or the absence of that mucus.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you would do, it would be to start at the beginning of your cycle, which is the first day of bleeding for a woman, and then chart with a practitioner who would help you learn to do this each day what it is that you see. So there is several methods that you might have heard of in the past require an app on your phone or using some sort of temperature, but many times those are inaccurate methods, and particularly the temperature can be cumbersome because you have to take your temperature first thing in the morning, get a certain amount of sleep, and make sure you don't move or talk before you take it for it to be accurate. So, that can be cumbersome, but the Creighton model does not use temperature. It doesn't use any devices. It is simply a woman making observations. And as for women that this would be helpful to, any woman of fertility age, whether she has just gotten her period or someone trying to get pregnant, someone with fertility issues like PCOS or infertility, can also be helpful for women who have certain medical conditions who cannot be on hormonal birth control. There are some conditions where that would be terrible health-wise or potentially fatal for some patients.
Okay, and so you seem to know a lot about this. How are you serving your community with this model of healthcare?
Sure. So like I had mentioned, I'm a physician assistant, and I've recently been accepted by the Pope Paul VI Institute to become a Creighton model and NAPRO technology medical consultant. So we talked a little bit about the Creighton model, but NAPRO technology stands for Natural Procreative Reproductive Medicine, which would be a system of efforts to take the information that we talked about, those observations that make up a chart, and then interpret that chart to try to provide the best opportunity and health for the patient. So this can be used to diagnose medical issues that might be difficult, but also to help come up with a good treatment plan. What I find happens a lot of times with women as they have various hormonal issues or hormonal imbalances or signs of those, these women are often just put on medication to augment a woman's cycle, but they don't fix the underlying issue. And sometimes they can make you worse. So of course, that would be something each patient would need to talk about with her particular doctor and healthcare provider as to see what's best for her. But yeah.
Okay, so is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about this model and how we can learn more about it and what it tells us, I guess also what it tells a woman about herself?
Well, one thing to know is that the Creighton model is 99.5% effective, which is an incredible efficacy. The other thing to know is that a lot of women do try to find natural options, and many times what they turn to is their smartphone, right? And their smartphone is going to have apps on it that can help track your cycle. But unfortunately, many of them are inaccurate, because they're going to go based on information that you put in of when the first day of your last period is, and then, track. And they try to create an estimated average of when the typical woman will ovulate. So most women, it suspects, ovulate around day 15 of their cycle. But the Creighton model helps to show us, as most women track their cycle through cervical mucus observations, then we can find exactly when you ovulate. And research shows that, in fact, while 15th day is an estimate of when a lot of women ovulate, it actually is not when every woman ovulates. And in fact, most do not ovulate on the 15th day. So just as temperature is 98.6 degrees is considered normal, but how they got that is they studied hundreds and thousands of people, and they took their temperatures, and most of us will hit 98.6 twice a day. our temperature is forever fluctuating. But in medical practice, I'll also often have patients come in and tell me that their temperature runs lower than 98.6, and they're right. Because most people do. But it's interesting that because that has been applied to women's healthcare, and they have ovulation has been treated as an average. Unfortunately, it has taken away the understanding that there is specific timing for each woman. And there's so many things that can affect your ovulation, regarding the amount of stress or medical conditions that you're under. Perhaps if you're nursing, that can affect it. As well as there's some women who can ovulate twice in a month. And so watching for the signs of ovulation would be more effective to avoiding or achieving pregnancy if you were trying to do so.
Is this something that the average person could easily learn, or is this something that you would have to go to a specialized school? Like, I know that you have a medical background and you're going for specialized training, but if we're talking to a broad audience here, so if you're talking to the average person that you run into on the street, what would she have to do to learn how to use this?
Sure. So the average person absolutely can use the Creighton model. And a lot of what I share is a medical understanding of why it's effective. But personally, the Creighton model is something that I use. And simply all you need to know to use the Creighton model would be to know how to go to the bathroom and make observations. So it's simply it's characterizing what it is that you see. There is no right or wrong answers. It's actually less cumbersome than a lot of things because you're not having to do any internal checks. There is no temperatures. There's no devices. There are some methods of fertility awareness that require you to use ovulation sticks each day of the month. And while that can be helpful for people who use those methods, the Creighton model doesn't require that. So that's helpful as well. To learn the Creighton model, you simply need to connect with a fertility care practitioner. And there are tons of wonderfully well-educated and trained practitioners that are able to connect with you, whether in person or remotely, who will be able to share exactly how you use this model. So they help to teach you how to chart and then go over your chart with you to help you find if it is accurate or not, so that you can get the most accuracy. So,
okay. I guess just two more questions. What are your future plans for this, for your project and for what you're learning and your business that you're starting?
Sure. Well, I would absolutely love to connect with women and families and to teach them that there is a natural way that they can absolutely know the health of their body, because the Creighton model is really one of many health tools that can be used to really understand the health of an individual patient. So I think women having information historically has always been very powerful. For them to know for themselves how to take care of themselves, but also right, we are as women mothers and caretakers of families, and how that impacts different families, right? I'm sure that you've heard the phrase, if mom is not happy, nobody's happy, right? Because women are the emotional regulators of their home. So as we learn more about women and their health, we're not just impacting women, we're impacting the home, the family, right? When mom is healthier, or daughters are healthier, right, we are creating a healthier society.
Okay, and how can we learn more about you or about where to find more information on this?
Sure. So the Pope Paul VI Institute and the Creighton model, I have tons of information on their websites if you want to follow me and my journey through this program and watch some of the things I'm doing. You can see that at anitamorin.com. I'll be updating that with what I'm doing.
Okay, great. And we will include all of this in the show notes. So thank you so much for being with us today, and we really appreciate you participating in Global Learn Day.
Oh, I hope it was helpful, and truly I hope for the most for improved healthcare for women.
So thank you. Bye.